have blockchain as the backbone. Why? Because let's look at what a blockchain is. If you're familiar with it, excuse me, I'm just taking some very fundamental things here, covering that. Blockchain primarily has its origination into a technology called decentralized technology, ledgers, decentralized ledger technology, DLTs. And one type of that DLT is blockchain. This became popular after Bitcoin was implemented by Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who is anonymous, like it is expected to be in the Web3 world, right? Web3 world is supposed to be anonymous. And some definitions here. Andreas is a very popular blockchain educationist. He's been very, very popular. He defines it as it's a network of computers. These computers are called nodes. They work together to maintain a shared database. Now, this is not actually a database, but it's something similar to a database, what is called a ledger, right? Your ledger is nothing but what banks do or you do in a business, right? Double entry, triple entry ledgers. It's exactly what Bitcoin does. Okay, it's an accounting system. And this ledger or database contains a continuous growing list of records, right? So any transaction that is happening on the blockchain is going to be primarily, it's going to be what we call recorded in these blocks, and they will be validated using cryptography, right, to ensure that data is valid, has not been tampered with. And once you write onto these ledgers, right, and there's an activity called a block is created. So it can be 1,000 transactions or 10,000, so depending, but then there'll be some activity that needs to be done by these nodes, what is called solving a problem, which is a consensus mechanism where they agree to saying that, okay, anybody who is able to sufficiently solve that problem correctly has the permission to create a block. Now, a block consists of all these transactions that have been validated. So once you've written those records or transactions onto a block and the block is validated and created, there is no way you can go and tamper with those transactions. So that is the power of blockchain. For example, if you had a physical ledger, anybody can go and erase or overwrite certain information, right, on a physical book or an Excel sheet or in a database. Right, database, the admin or somebody can have overwrite and they can go and overwrite any data. Nobody stops that. But on a blockchain, and specifically Bitcoin and public blockchains, all these are visible to everybody. What is not known is who is the person, because everything is based on an address, right? So people who keep actively looking at what is happening on the blockchain, there are continuously hackers trying to hack servers or the blockchain. Even that is being observed, and everything is secure till date. After the launch from 2008 or 2009, Jan 3rd, 2009 is when the first block was created. From that time onwards, till date, okay, the system has been secure or the blockchain has been secure. And everything is primarily contributed through this cryptography, okay? If you're not very familiar with it, you can just have a look at it on Wikipedia. It tells you what exactly cryptography is. Okay, many of you will relate it to what you would have done earlier when you played secret password or secret names, or somewhere you would have played something like that in your childhood. Okay, trying to replace one word with another, which makes a meaning, and then sending a secret message. Somebody else trying to decipher it by reverting it back and trying to read the message. Right, that's exactly what happens on a blockchain. Right, so everything is created automatically through a software. No individual or a person does it. Right? Don Tapscott and Alex, they are very popular on Web3. There are quite a few books they have written. Okay, he defines it as an incorruptible ledger, digital ledger, which means that nobody can tamper with it. Right? And everything is a transaction, an economic transaction, because there is a value attached to that. And everything is programmed so that it is not just financial transaction, but everything of value. So when we say everything of value, It could be value of your personal information, personal data, that also is secure on the blockchain. Your finance information is also secure on the blockchain. Your digital assets like NFTs, they are also secure, right? Vitalik was a co-founder who implemented the Ethereum blockchain in 2015. So he gives a much more detailed explanation where, which means that anybody, it's a magic computer. Yes, Ethereum is a magic computer because it envisions it to be a virtual world computer, meaning that all the nodes or the servers that are connected to Ethereum will share their CPU and space computing power. So you got now that whole of thousands of or tens of thousands of nodes connected, uh, whose power is available not only for the Ethereum blockchain, but even for your applications and your tokens. Because now it is democratized, you can deploy your applications, right? So how do you do these programs? You write them. There are something called smart contracts. We'll just have a quick word on that, okay? Which execute on their own on these programs so that no third party can sit and approve certain things. Everything is done by a program, okay? And these are all very strong cryptographically secured guarantees. And these are not been broken till date, okay, and may not be in future, though they keep talking about quantum computers coming in and breaking. Some of the studies have said that the kind of algorithms that are here built into these blockchains, it doesn't make sense even for a quantum computer trying to break it. Okay, so that is the security what we are talking about on a blockchain. In fact, it can be your museum itself or your commercial building. Okay, so anything that has got value in the real world, how do I translate it onto the blockchain? So this process, what is called tokenization of real world assets, is going to be one of the big what you call advances that are going to happen in the near future. Majority of the organizations are very keenly exploring this. Large banks, large commercial institutes are already exploring how they can transfer real world assets onto the blockchain. Right? And of course, blockchain has got these different features. We looked at transparency, security, decentralization. When you say supply chain traceability, we are saying that, okay, now if I make a transaction from my wallet, there is a proof that it did originate from my wallet and nobody else would have created that transaction. So that is the provenance of saying that, okay, this transaction did come from this source. Same way for supply chain. When I say supply chain, it can be raw materials, it can be your goods, whatever that originate, which is a huge industry. Blockchain is one of the optimum areas to implement, because supply chain is taking a huge advantage of the blockchain technology to transact, to track information that happens across the chain. Okay, and financial inclusion, because there is no permission required to participate in this economy. Metaverse is going to be a digital economy, of course, where you can create, buy, and sell different types of digital assets. It will help in social interaction, virtual social interaction, gaming, entertainment, whatever, music programs, concerts, everything are already happening. Education and training is going to take real advantage of it. Workspaces are already being created. Okay, so organizations that moved away during the lockdown, one of the things is how can I now have virtual meetings rather than just participating here? I'll build a metaverse. There are some Indian companies also which are looking at it, and that will become popular as we go forward. And everything on this platform will be linked to your digital identity. Now, what is this digital identity? It could be your avatar, just similar to what you have your address. Now, can I take that identity across on different of these virtual worlds platforms is what is going to be another evolving and mechanism, because people are looking at digital IDs as one of the huge industries on the blockchain and the Web3 world. Okay, there are large startups which are actually exploring how they can ensure that one, you bring a bridge between KYC and what happens anonymity on the Web3 world. So that is being explored. Some are also trying to say, okay, can I create just one identity for myself, which I can then give it to my bank, to the metaverse, anywhere, without actually sharing all the information, right? They are called ZK rollups. You can zero knowledge algorithms. Okay, that's one of the recent ones. Of course, it's been in development for a few, but then now that is being the area where you can, where I can share some information without sharing my date of birth. You will be able to understand what my age is. In simple layman's term, I will give some information which is not my date of birth. But looking at the information, you will be able to deduce that, okay, this person is of this age. Okay, so that's what zero knowledge is. You don't have any knowledge about my date of birth, but still you will trust me and you will say that, okay, this information is correct. Now, what does all these three depend on? Web3, blockchain, metaverse, trust, right? Now, what so far I was not focusing on was trust, right? Why you now appreciate trust? Because for any transaction to happen, whether between in physical world, between you and your friend, or you and your bank, or you and your grocery store owner, you need to have the trust that, okay, whatever he has given in return for your money is uh, optimum. Okay, that it is correct value, that it is not a fraud. So there is now that trust, if you want to bring on the internet, blockchain is the way, because there is one of the key pillars of blockchain. You bring in trust through all these aspects, the aspects of transparency, security, decentralization, supply chain, principally financial inclusion. Everything relies on trust, right? And once you build this trust through this mechanism, okay, where you are not actually going to now question any transaction, any asset, any ownership on the Web3 world, you are by default bringing in that convenience and confidentiality to do a transaction without questioning, right? Otherwise, you have to be worried. If you do a cash transaction every time, you have to make sure that one, you're not got soiled notes, right? You don't have a fake currency there. In spite of so many years of transacting, that risk still there. On the digital world itself, you have seen a lot of frauds happening through banks, through the OTP mechanism or Aadhaar or whatever that is happening, okay, where people are able to steal money from the accounts. Every day, in and out on the newspaper, you'll see that people are still able to hack. But here, without knowing a person, only relying on his anonymous data, how can you transact? This whole technology is based on that, which builds the trust where you not even question whether a particular transaction is valid or not, right? So that's something which is a powerful feature that comes in with all these mechanisms. Okay. Now, just stepping forward and seeing what are the opportunities if you're planning to build a career here. Of course, if you're a programmer, developer, okay, when I say blockchain developer, it includes everything related to program across different blockchains. There are different blockchains, different programming languages which you can use to develop applications around the blockchain. Smart contracts are specifically those contracts or programs which enforce a contract, like your agreement, if it is a rental agreement or any agreement for a sale deed or buying a asset like a real estate, or you have a contract, right? That is signed off. There are third parties where you go to a registrar or a notary or a lawyer, and then you go through that cycle. Now, that whole thing is enforced through a program into what is called a smart contract. And these drive a lot of these transfer of value on the internet or the blockchain happens through these smart contracts. Okay. So that is one area. If you are a very strong programmer, or if you are a very strong person in a specific industry, okay, you pick up this language and how it, and merge your business knowledge with what you can deliver on this particular platform. Designers will make a huge impact in the metaverse. If you are much more into technology, architecting solutions, right? Because now if an industry or a business wants to move on to this, it requires not just a knowledge of Web3, it needs even knowledge of how to build that particular solution, what is the hardware that needs to be brought in, how you configure the metaverse, how you design it. All that aspects bring in what is called a solutioning architect, which is a common thing. And majority of these now are based on communities. Okay, so all blockchain, Web3 world runs with communities. Okay, so you find communities that pitch for a particular blockchain or a solution or a product, and these make a huge effort in one sharing information, okay, managing the community, rewarding the community. So all that happens with communities, and there are projects that look for community managers who can run their communities. Now these communities are based again on platforms like Discord, Telegram, others where Twitter, okay, some of these, and there are other forums where they participate. The whole idea is that your project is as successful as the community participation, because now Web3 is open source participation by communities who take advantage of the community or the platform. And business development managers are primarily those who come in with strong business knowledge, marketing knowledge, or sales knowledge, and they can build partnership with other Web3 projects, right? So this is also one of the areas which gives a lot of what we call um, areas to get into the Web3 world, the ways in which, of course, there is this project management and others that continue to be valid, because it's like any other software development project. Okay, if you're a software person, you will be able to get this thing or step into the world.